I've been on a pilgrimage for the last 2 or 3 years. You see, the retail chain store B&M has entered into an agreement with toy and games designer Character Options Limited to carry a line of Doctor Who merchandise. And the production consists of figures and models and other collectible memorabilia fashioned on characters from the science fiction television series. Naturally, they're popular among fans, and there is no bigger fan of Doctor Who than my husband, Joe. Joe and I have probably visited every single B&M store there is in the Glasgow metro area. I've been to places I never really thought I'd go, all in search of these elusive Doctor Who figures. For the range of these goods are, well, it's challenging to locate. And if you can find them, well, you're lucky. It seems that most B&M stores don't carry them, or if they do, they sell out before we get there. Joe tells me that there are some not so very nice people who go to B&M stores and when they first come in, buy every single Doctor Who figure and then sell them on eBay for a profit. So Joe will come to me and he'll say something like, maybe they'll have them in East Kilbride. And I get my coat and we go. Recently, however, Joe and I have stumbled upon a Whovian treasure trove. On an adventure exploring a nearby ruin outside of Wishaw, we passed a B&M store in a nearby shopping center. And of course, like every other B&M store that we pass by, we had to stop. I must admit, though, I've grown a bit cynical, one might even say wearily so, of these antics. Time and again, we walk through the aisles of some far-flung B&M store, only to see Joe come out crestfallen and empty-handed. But for whatever reason, Wishaw's branch of the warehouse store disrupted our spate of bad luck. We'd struck gold, and Joe, he was overwhelmed. He carefully examined all the different boxes of the newly produced Dalek figures on the shelves. There were many. "Which one should I get?" he said. "Which one? Which one," I thought, "should you get? We're not leaving this store without buying every single model there is on the shelf." And y'all, that's exactly what I did. I grabbed every single model that they had and went straight to the checkout. I felt victorious. At last, after all these trips to B&M's in the middle of nowhere, it had paid off. To be honest, I wasn't sure what we'd bought, but I knew it was something special. So after many thwarted attempts, and this succession that we'd had, our attempts had finally been rewarded, Joe did something that I wasn't expecting. One of the first things that he did was to tweet. It was like sending out a homing signal for all the Doctor Who obsessed nerds out there. He wrote, "Whovians of Central Scotland, Wishaw's B&M store in Craigneuk has all the Daleks. A rare find. Plenty in stock." Joe couldn't hold this a secret. It wasn't some kind of insider information to hold to oneself. What Joe saw had to be shared. In today's gospel, lots of people are doing the same kind of thing. They're seeing something, letting people in on their discoveries, and telling them how they can find out more. You see, many people were on the lookout during this time. You might say they were on some sort of mission. I wonder how many proverbial B&M stores they had to visit before they found it. But when folk found what they were looking for, or at least the prospect of it, they spread the word. They let others know what they had seen. Now, part of being a Christian is to carry on this tradition. It's not enough just to adopt some kind of personal or private devotion. Disciples of Christ must spread the gospel. Evangelizing is the responsibility of every single Christian. But a lot of people find this daunting. It feels awkward. It may seem to some improper. But maybe that's because some folk have the wrong idea of what exactly they're being asked to do. What we hear today of John and Andrew and Simon was how they managed to witness to the Lord. And all they did was to share what they had observed. Indeed, this is what the gospel asks. Not to theologize or make sense of the world. It doesn't tell folk to craft a thesis or a philosophy or write a confession or an overarching narrative. In fact, it isn't up to us to convert people. No, if there's a conversion to be done, that's the Lord's work. No one is asked to speak for God, but to speak for oneself, to share what they've discovered themselves. And you and I are doing that all the time. We're sharing memes, life hacks, exchanging recipes, or rating Uber drivers, and tweeting about the location of Doctor Who merchandise. It's as natural as anything. If you want to know how to share your faith, use your familiarity and experience. Follow the examples of the saints. Tell your story in your way. Invite others to listen to what you've discovered. You don't need to know more than you already do. And you don't have to have special skills or knowledge. You and I are witnesses for Jesus simply by sharing what we have seen and heard. So let us testify.